Interviews with top newsmakers, leaders, and interesting people. This is Talk of the Tiers.
Welcome to Talk of the Tiers. I'm your host today, Nick Barber. Joining me is a special guest we have who needs no introduction, but we're going to introduce him anyway. You may know him as the former host of The Tonight Show, and he'll also be coming to Elmira, New York to perform at the Clemens Center on August 22nd for an evening with Jay Leno. Ladies and gentlemen, Jay Leno. Thank you very much, Mr. Leno. Yes, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Yes.
It's Jay, actually.
Yes. Oh, okay. No problem. Well, thank you, Jay. So, yes. Well, first, let's start from the beginning. Now,
all right.
Yes. Well, a lot of people, when they think of Jay Leno, they think of beautiful, sunny Burbank, California, but you're actually from the East Coast.
Well, I born in Rochelle, New York. I grew up outside, about 30 miles north of Boston, near New Hampshire border, a little town called Andover, Massachusetts. I was there for like 9 years, from 9 to 18. And then I started coming to California. Then I moved to California in the very early 70s, yeah. So I've been here for a while.
Yes. Now, Andover, Massachusetts. Now, I must ask, is there an Andover, Massachusetts accent, and do you have it?
No. I never liked that part. What do you that Boston accent, you know? But yeah, it's not the greatest accent. It always used to make me laugh. No, I was a New Yorker originally, so, and I always realized, you know, I would hear Boston comics would go to Connecticut or other places, and people go, "What do you say?" And they couldn't understand what it is. So, you know, you have a tonic, you know. It's one of the funniest accents. You know, there's a scene in the movie Ted where a beautiful woman walks into a room and she's got the high cheekbones and some sort of very French, posh-looking gown, and she looks around. She goes, "What are you guys retarded?" I fell out of my chair laughing. It just had, the whole thing was shattered by the Boston accent.
Yeah. Yes, a very, very popular accent in the United States. Yes, the Boston accent. Now, as a stand-up comedian, like when you were first starting out, like who were the people who you wanted to emulate? Like you saw this, like this is the guy I want to sound like, this is the guy I want to say funny things like this person. Obviously, you created your own style, but who was that template for you?
When I was a kid, most of the comedians were older Jewish guys, grew up during the Depression, you know, the kind of Jack Benny's and those kind of guys. Certainly Bob Newhart, a huge fan of his, Johnny Carson, of course. And then in the late 60s, early 70s, you had George Carlin, Robert Klein, Richie Pryor. We call him Richie, and he's Richard Pryor now, but he's Richie Pryor then. And these were the first comedians that spoke, because as a young person doing comedy, you're just doing a younger version of old comedy, in the sense that, you know, most comics, Rodney Dangerfield and those guys that like kids today, I tell you, with the long hair, you know, that kind of stuff. Yeah, here was Carlin and Robert Klein, and they were talking about things that I was talking about with my friends and being funny, and so those are the guys I wanted to emulate.
Oh, very interesting, yes. Now, it's been, in total, you hosted The Tonight Show for 17 years.
No, 22 years, actually.
23 years. Oh, my part. I'm sorry. It was, yes.
22 years, actually. I was short 5 years, then he added a year. No, 22 years. Yeah.
23 years, yes. So in total, you hosted...
22 years. 22 years.
22 years. 25 years. So, yes. Okay. No, I'm just kidding. Not I heard you. This is 22 years. So, yes. So you hosted The Tonight Show for 22 years.
Right.
Yes, and it's been about 10 years since you walked away from The Tonight Show. Now, does it still appeal to you to, like, would you ever come out and not host The Tonight Show, but have a talk show?
Well, no, I think that format, they have them now. They're called podcasts. It's a little bit different. The idea of people staying up to a certain time to watch something happen exactly that time. You used to call it appointment TV or must-see TV. Well, now you can watch anything pretty much any time you want. So the idea of you have to watch a show at 11:30 at night to see is kind of a passé idea, I think. I think the talk show needs to kind of reinvent itself, because I think the biggest problem is you've got so many commercials. You know, you can watch streaming television now. If I go on Peacock or something like that, I can watch, 10 Law and Orders without one commercial. When you switch over to on any network, any late night show, you have 6 minutes of jokes, and then you have 5 or 6 minutes of commercial. Then you come back and an 8 minute interview with a star, and then 7 minutes. I mean, it's just, and it gets worse because as revenue goes down, you need more commercials to fill up the time. So it's a kind of never-ending thing there.
Yes, I see. I think that's something we all have to deal with just in television in general, like the competing with bad guys and just the medium.
I think I think TV is sort of needs to change. Yeah.
Yes, I agree. To evolve with the times. That's an excellent point. And Talk of the Tiers, we'll be right back after the break. In a recent interview with the Ronald Reagan Presidential Foundation, he had some thoughts about the current state of late night talk shows.
Actually, no, I didn't. You know, this is what the press does. This happened long before Colbert got fired. And then I see articles. No, he asked me, what did Johnny and I do back in the day? Well, when we were doing the show, I tended to make fun of both sides. You know, when you got both Democrats and Republicans mad at you for the same joke, then you're doing your job. Nowadays, everybody has to kind of take a side, or it seems to be more one side or the other. But I never talked about anybody else, or never denigrated or said somebody else did it wrong. You know, I'm a stand-up comic. I travel around the country. So, you know, when you do a TV show, you get exactly the audience that likes exactly what you do. And it's free, and people watch it. When people buy a ticket, they want to be entertained. I mean, if I go to the Midwest, there's a good chance half my audience would be Democrats and half the audience would be Republicans. And I choose not to risk losing either one of those by just sort of maybe gently ribbing each side a little bit. So it seems you have people to count jokes. I know you did 2 more Trump jokes than you did, but you know, I mean, that's the world we live in now. So yeah, but I certainly did not mean to cast aspersions on anybody else doing a late night talk show. That was not my case. They asked me that question. It was an interview about Reagan's humor, and Reagan was a funny guy. I had dinner with him a couple of times. He always had good jokes, you know, kind of what you would call dad jokes now, you know, that kind of. Well, Jay, have you heard the one about, you know? And it was just a fun guy to hang out with.
Yes. Well, piggybacking off that, my question for that is, as you said, like, you take shots at both sides, and it makes it even. But in this attitude we have in the U.S. now, is it even possible to be perceived as unbiased? Because sometimes even just the silence, like staying away from a topic, as you know, people can interpret that as like.
Well, people can interpret anything they want. You know, Rodney Dangerfield and I were friends for 40 years. I have no idea if he's a Republican or Democrat. You know, you know, people are shocked to learn that someone is a Republican, or stunned that they're a Democrat. You know, I don't know. To me, when I was growing up, we all hated Russia. Now we hate the other side, which is, I tell you, if I was trying to figure out how to tear America apart, this would be the way to do it. You pitch one side against the other. I mean, I do kind of long for the days when Tip O'Neill and Reagan would argue and then go somewhere and have a drink and just relax, and you're both on the same side. You know, Army and Navy guys will fight each other all day long, but then they'll fight the third enemy as a team when that comes to it. You know, I mean, I heard someone say I would rather go with Putin than Biden, and I go, well, that's like stupid talk. I mean, it's ridiculous. You know. Yeah, I mean, there's nothing wrong with having a healthy difference of opinion. That's fine. That's what our whole system of government is based on. And, you know, healthy debate, and then whoever gets the most votes wins. You know, and now we're even at the point now where even the most votes doesn't win because everything's a conspiracy.
Yes, very interesting point. Yes. Now you are coming, like we said, we're coming back to Elmira on August 22nd. But
that is great.
Yes, but this is not your first time in Elmira. You were actually performed at the Clemens Center on September 29th of 1989. Yes, So I was asking, will this be your first time back in Elmira since then?
I don't know. Maybe. It might be. I do a lot, you know. The way this works is the plane lands at like 6 o'clock. If it's in the winter, it's dark. You go to the venue, you go in the back door, they shine a light in your eye, you tell a joke, you get a check, you go home. People go, "How was it?" I go, "I don't know. I really wasn't there long enough. Yeah, that's the way it is." I don't know if I've been back to Elmira or not. I traveled around an awful lot, and I enjoy it. I really do like it. It's a fun way to make a living. I would rather perform in front of a live audiences than do one TV special for huge money. I would rather do 100 or 150 shows around the country, just because Mark Twain said, travel is the enemy of bigotry, and it's really true. When you travel, you just learn things about other people. I was in the Mideast recently, and I saw something I had never seen before, and it was Muslim kids laughing. I mean, just Muslim teenagers just being stupid teenagers, pushing each other, pulling the rug out, whatever, just idiot stuff that kids do. And you realize kids all over the world are exactly the same. But in our country, when you see certain groups, oh, it's always very serious, or it's always this, or it's always that. And I'm not saying it's intentional, but it just comes across that way, And when you travel and you meet people from other cultures and learn things that are different, you realize you really have a lot more in common than you have that divides us. But that's another subject.
And Talk of the Tears will be right back after this break. You are, as you know, you're known for The Tonight Show, but you've done many other things. You've done films, and I've seen you on other sitcoms at times. You also, in 1998, you ventured into the world of pro wrestling at WCW's Road Wild. Sorry, pardon me about that. And you faced the immortal Hulk Hogan. So you had him. You had him in the arm bar. You had him in there. You had him right where you wanted him.
Funny about that. People go to me. They go, "Hey, look, I know wrestling's fake, but I could tell you were really mad." I go, "I wasn't mad." "No, I could tell." "No, don't you understand? We rehearsed that. We dance. How can you push me this way? I'll push you this way." He goes, No, I could tell you were really mad." I go, "I'm telling you, it was fake. I was there. I'm the guy that was in it." It just really makes me laugh. I remember some critic said, "It's beneath the dignity of The Tonight Show." I'm on TV. There's no dignity. You're selling commercial time. And we did it for charity. 100% of the money went to some children's hospital. So to me, yeah, please, you can put your dignity away.
Yes. And the fact that people, Jay, thought that you were really angry tells me you do know how to work, and you sold it, and you did your job.
Well, there you go. That's right.
In the squared circle, yes. So, and as you know, Hulk Hogan recently passed away. So I just wanted to ask you, tell me, how was it working with Terry Bollea, a.k.a. the Hulkster?
Terry, I like Hulk. He was a nice guy. We're all in the same business. And people are never as they appear to be. Most people are pretty nice, especially the ones that are professionals. There are people that spend their whole life trying to catch somebody in an angry moment or whatever it might be. But I always found him to be a gentleman with me. I remember his biggest regret, and you probably know this, they went to him with an idea for a grill where you plug it in and it gets hot and you cook food and you unplug it. Didn't he have an on-off switch? So Hulk goes, "I'm not going to sell a whole Hulk grill. It doesn't even have an on-off switch in it." Well, they gave it to George Foreman. George Foreman made a fortune, and his buyout at the end of like 5 years was $137 million. And to the day he died, I think Hulk realized it's probably his biggest error.
Yeah, it could have been the Hogan grill,
The Hulk grill, exactly.
Yeah, frying up patties on the 4th of July on the Hogan. So, what might have been? What might have been? Yes. Now, when you come to the area, I don't know if you're planning on it or not, but as you know, we have a Watkins Glen racetrack, Watkins Glen International.
I know. I usually, I'm taking care of my wife now. My wife's got dementia and Alzheimer's, and so I tend to go and come back the same day. So I don't really get a chance to do a lot of things like that. So I'm her principal caregiver. So, and I enjoy that. I enjoy being there. It's a lot of fun, but you still got to make a living.
Yes, I understand.
I go out and I come back the same night, yeah.
I understand. Yes, totally. All right, now, as you know, as we all know, you're a big fan of automobiles, and you have quite a car collection.
That's correct.
Yes.
That's where I am right now. I'm in my garage.
I can see that. That's a very nice man cave you have there with all the cars. Now, Yes. Now I'm going to ask you the most important question for any car owner. What do you prefer, automatic or standard transmission?
Well, the fact that you'd even ask that question shows you're not a car guy. Are you a car guy?
Guilty. I don't know. It's like I'm a bike guy. I prefer the fifth gear myself.
Well, yeah.
But
Well, no, of course, a manual transmission is always preferable, but there's some very good automatics, dual clutch and all that kind of thing. But yeah, I prefer the manual, yeah.
I've tried to drive stick once, and it made sounds that really scared me, and I never tried again. It was just grinding, and there's like 3 pedals.
I rest my case, Your Honor.
Yes, it was not for me. Yes, so what would you say your favorite car in your car collection is? The one that
Well,
you take on the road the most?
Well, I wouldn't have all these cars I had a favorite. I mean, I enjoy working on them. I enjoy the history of them. I enjoy the story behind them. No, I can't really say I have a favorite because they're all different. You know, I mean, it's just a fun hobby. You know, when you work with your hands, you appreciate how easy it is to make a living just talking. You know, if I take a transmission out, it took all day Saturday, and my hands are filthy. You know, you've got you get grease in your cuts and everything, and you would have made $80 for the day. And then you tell a joke and you go, oh, well, this is really. So, you know, I have a lot of friends of mine that get extremely spoiled in show business. They go, I'm not going there for that kind of money. I go, what are you doing on a Tuesday that's worth that kind of money? Just shut up. Don't complain. You know, show business whining is the most annoying thing. People that you're so lucky to be in a business where people actually pay to see you. Don't complain about it. You know, so never explain, never complain.
So my next question is, you know, tailing off of that. So what would you say you enjoy more about cars, driving them or working on the cars?
Well, I think there's a great deal of satisfaction. You know, we don't really control much of our own lives anymore. So the fun thing about old cars is when they break, you can usually fix them and get them home. Now, your argument might be, well, a new car doesn't break. Well, that's true, but you don't really bond with a new car. You know, most people I know that have old cars, it was their grandfathers or their dads, or they went for ice cream every Sunday when they were kids, or it was just fun keeping it running, you know, holding the flashlight for your dad. And I did all that kind of stuff. And then I got to do work on it. My dad would hold the flashlight, you know. So, I mean, it's sort of a bonding moment. I think, you know, the heart is healthiest when the hands and the head work together. I work with my hands during the day, and then I go out on the stage and I tell jokes. So I made money with my hands, and I made money with my head, and that's why my heart's in good shape.
Oh, that's a great philosophy, yes. So, and now, staying with driving, what would you say, like, is your ideal weather for driving, and what car would that be? It's like a sunny day or like a little overcast? You like the roads a little slick?
How about nice weather? Why would anyone want the road slick? Yeah, I want it slippery, icy, and dangerous. No, why would you want that? That's why I live in California. I mean, when it rains, what rain? What? I didn't pay this kind of money to live and get rain. You know, so you know that. I mean, it's always a beautiful day in California. Yeah. So that's. There's no. I don't know anybody that goes, gee, I wish the roads were slick and icy, and put kids in a school bus in front of me with. No.
Could be a challenge, yes, but I understand your point. That makes perfect sense myself.
Yeah, that's right.
Yes. And Talk of the Tiers, we'll be right back after the break. One more question if you have time.
Yes, go ahead.
Yes, one more question. Now, to go back, just to backtrack a little bit now, we said you were a talk show host and stand-up comedian, but there was also a time when you worked in feature films. Now, I must admit, I have not seen Collision Course with Pat Morita, but it is a cult favorite for a lot of people. Now,
no, it is not a cult favorite. It's a ridiculous, terrible movie.
Those are the best cult favorites, yeah.
Yeah, I'm not a, you know, I got asked to do a couple, I was asked to do films. I didn't seek it out. It's okay. You know, a film, you work on it for a year, and then it comes out, and then it's edited. And I mean, I like it. It's fun. I think of a joke, I go on stage, and I tell it, and I know right away if it works. I don't really like doing films. It's not a lot of fun for me. I was very flattered to be asked, and I enjoyed the ones I was in. But I think it's safe to say I'm not really an actor.
Yes, I see. Yes, more of a talk show host, and you were a great one at that. Yes. One more question. This is the last question. It's the last question.
Go ahead.
And it's the only one, it's probably the most important question. As a legendary talk show host, do you have any advice for up-and-coming talk show hosts, like some people here? Like how to be a good talk show host with a guest?
Well, I think, I mean, the thing I learned was I'll be a comedian when I'm doing the monologue or a skit or something, but I'll be a host when I would see a lot of people that would guest host and they get a big laugh or they top the guest, but then the guest wouldn't come back because they made to look foolish by the host. So when you're hosting, so lit back and the trick is to make the guest shine, look as good as they can. Try to hold your tongue. You know, a guest says something, you go, oh, I got a great line. Oh, no, I can't do it because it'll step on them. I mean, you have to learn a little bit constraint. So I think that's the trick. I mean, be a comedian when you need to be, and then be a good listener. I think you have to be interested in people. I'm always amazed when I meet show business people that don't want to meet the audience or sign an autograph. I go, why? What's the matter with you? I mean, you wouldn't be here for one of these people. I mean, so please, you know. So yeah, I think the thing is just try to be a good listener.
Try to be a good listener and use constraint. That's very, very good advice, and I will take that to heart. Well, Mr. Jay Leno, thank you very much for joining us here on Talk.
Thank you, my friend. I'll see you in Elmira.
I'll see you on the 22nd, Elmira. Thank you very much, sir. Well, that does it for this special edition of Talk of the Tears with our guest, Jay Leno. Please join us next week when he comes to the Clemens Center for an evening with Jay Leno at the Clemens Center. That's August 22nd at 8 p.m. We hope to see you there. And you can check out this episode on our website, mytwintears.com. Thank you very much, and we'll see you on the next edition of Talk of the Tears.